Hello and welcome to another episode of the Solo Collective podcast. The Solo Collective is an online community of business owners and freelancers who are all navigating this crazy world of entrepreneurship together. And this podcast, which you'll also find on YouTube, is kind of my thoughts, my running commentary on what's happening in that community and what's happening in the wider world for solo business owners. I'm recording this in spring and we're going into summer. And for regular viewers of this channel, if you're seeing it on video, that is, you see that the plant behind me has sprouted a big flower that's actually going off the screen there. So that's nice. It's nice to know that I can actually look after a plant. That's something that I never thought that I would be able to do because every time we've had plants in the past, they have withered and died. So that's that's nice. Um, Today, I'm going to talk about something that is of quite importance to me. And it's something that I often find myself saying this, but it's something that not a lot of people talk about. And it is kind of in the realm of confidence. For those who have been following this channel for a while, you'll know that I'm quite big into mindset. I'm quite big into personal development. I think that, you know, us ourselves, we are the engine for the things that we create in the world. And our business will always be a reflection of who we are and how we see ourselves. So today I want to talk about confidence, but the thing that underpinned confidence for me is this idea of psychological safety. Now, you'll usually hear people talk about psychological safety in the context of teams. In the corporate world, it's a big thing. When people are working together, the idea is that to foster trust and collaboration and openness, people need to feel psychologically safe. Completely agree with all of that. Like it makes total sense, doesn't it? And it's really quite mad to me to think that we've gone so many years in business not recognizing this. And I think you could probably go to most corporate jobs or any job really these days and still feel psychologically unsafe in that environment. But nobody really talks about this in the context of solo entrepreneurship. These people working on their own in their rooms, like me, with a lovely plant in the background. Um, we're all doing this. If you follow this podcast, this channel, there's a good chance that you are a solo business owner or a freelancer or a consultant or something like that. So how's your psychological safety? Like how do you feel about that? Like what does that mean to you? To me, psychological safety is really the bedrock for confidence. Um, a lot of times we want to build confidence, but what are we building it on? We don't know what we're building it on. There's no foundation there. So what we do is we fake things. We tell ourselves things, or we read books that tell us to do certain things to become confident. And whilst I'm certainly not disrespecting this idea of, cultivating a positive mindset, positive affirmations, and things like that, like these things are pretty essential. What sits underneath this is this idea of psychological safety. And I've known about this for a while, but it's kind of coming to form in my mind more recently because I became trauma informed. I took a course on how to become trauma informed as a coach because I was seeing a lot in my clients presenting these behavioral patterns of low confidence. And the general way that we talk about mindset and improving confidence wasn't really landing with some of my clients. And what it came down to was this sense that didn't really make any sense to them. Like they couldn't just kind of reprogram their mind to become more confident. And they couldn't move into the world in a more, in those kind of spaces that get us out of our comfort zone. They just couldn't get into those spaces because they didn't feel ultimately psychologically safe to do so. So let me give you an example of this, and this is probably one that you've experienced in your own life. Let's say you are going to a business event or even just a social occasion. And we have this idea of social anxiety. And how many times have you registered for something or said, yeah, yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to go to that thing because it's going to be good for my business or it's going to be good for my relationships or whatever it is. I'm going to go to that group, that I'm going to go to that room on that night, be with those people and make connections and all that sort of stuff. But then when it comes down to it, you flake out the last minute or even earlier on in the day, you're thinking, hmm, not sure about going to that thing tonight or this afternoon. Um, oh God, I hope nothing happens. I hope no disaster happens. I hope that I don't have to do a load of work. And then all of a sudden, you start thinking, oh, I've got that client project that needs working on. Oh, do you know what? And then before you know it, you're saying, "Oh, sorry guys, I can't make it tonight." Um, or you're clicking, you're changing your RSVP to an event, saying, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I can't make it tonight." What has happened there? What has happened there? You'll probably be telling yourself that you'll be telling a story that you're too busy, or that you haven't got time for these kinds of things. You'll be telling a story there, but what's really happening is that on a deep psychological level, you don't feel safe in that environment. And so your body is not allowing you to move into that space. Now, let me explain this a little bit. Something that I've learned through becoming trauma informed is that we all have experienced negative experiences in our life. And often these experiences can be classed as trauma. Now, trauma doesn't have to be something that is, wildly catastrophic. I mean, you think of trauma, you think PTSD, you think veterans of war, you think sexual assault survivors, you think people that have had a really traumatic event. But actually, trauma can be installed in many different ways over a period of years. I'll give you an example from my own life. When I was at university, I turned up to give a presentation on hardly any sleep and a hangover. And I was arrogant enough to think I could just wing it. Turns out I couldn't wing it, and I fell to pieces in this presentation. That one event really, really harmed my ability to even present ideas to clients, let alone do any public speaking. Um, so it can be paired back to one event, but it might also just be a series of things that have happened in your life that have built up a story that stop you from doing something, from moving forward in some way. I'm sure this resonates. And what it is it's the trauma response is actually held within the central nervous system. So we talk about mindset a lot, and we talk about the power of thought and negative thinking versus positive thinking. But actually, if you really tune into where your anxieties and your fears are coming from, you will find that it's somewhere in the body, or it presents somewhere in the body. So let's say, for example, um, you get an email. An email comes in and it's you don't even see who it's from, but the subject line is something along the lines of emergency, please call me. Like straight away, if you pay attention to that, you may notice a tightening, around your neck, maybe, or in your belly, or in your chest, or, maybe there'll be a hunched sensation appears just in your shoulders. And then, maybe it's not a problem. Maybe there's nothing to worry about after all. You can relax again. And this happens all the time. Like, for example, um, let's say you want to check your phone and it's not in the usual spot. Let's say usually it's on the desk next to you and it's not there. Straight away, you might go into a very, very mild sense of panic. Where's that? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Maybe the heartbeat raises a little bit. Maybe there's a tightening in the belly or the chest. There's a book called The Body Knows the Score, or The Body Keeps the Score. And this is what all this stuff is about. It's like if you can create safety, like a sense of psychological safety, whereby this stuff doesn't hamper you as much as it currently does, it will give way to a sense of natural self-confidence. And when you have confidence, that's when you can go out into the world and do whatever you want, and I like say do whatever you want. But what I mean is in a business context, you can pitch at higher rates. You can go after projects that you ordinarily would have avoided because you maybe thought they were too big or scary. You can go to events and be in rooms with people who you may be a little bit intimidated by. Like if you don't feel psychologically safe and you don't have a natural kind of confidence that comes from that, anything that you want to do is going to be sabotage. You're not going to be able to do it. And so that's what this is all about. Like, as a business owner, this is where the work is, people. You don't need a new strategy for your ad campaign. You don't need to learn how to do cold outreach. What you've got to do is create an environment where you feel psychologically safe to have the confidence to go and do these things. The strategy, the step-by-step plan, the how-to, that always, always, always comes next. You get me? You understand me? I'm speaking from my own life. I'm speaking from the perspective of so many of my clients. Like, this is true. You know it. So if you find yourself looking for, Googling, oh, how to create a lead magnet, how to get more clients, how to be more productive, how to stop procrastinating, any of these things, Google's obviously a fantastic resource, but it isn't going to give you the information that you need, because the information that you need is stored in your mind and in your body. And you have to take a moment to stop, breathe, feel where those sensations are, breathe through it, accept it, process it. Because that's what this is about. It's about processing. You have to close the loop. Trauma is essentially the result of an unclosed loop. It's an incomplete reaction. You know, one of the things I learned on this course that I recently completed was that if you were told as a young child that you're not allowed to be angry, like you stamp your feet, you throw something at the wall, and your parents get mad at you and they tell you, don't do that. You're not allowed to do that, then you've not been able to complete that emotion. And therefore, you will grow up to be an adult with anger issues who constantly shuts down those feelings of frustration until one day, oof, it all just outbursts. Then what happens? Bad things happen, right? So you got to manage this stuff. I am a trauma-informed coach, but I'm not a therapist. If this is resonating with you and you feel like you need real help with this, I would really encourage you to get therapy or speak to a counselor or a psychologist. Newsflash, you don't need to be crazy. There's such stigma around this still. Uh, Therapy is just it's a thing like working with a personal trainer or a coach. It's just helping you cope, helping you grow. So that's what I've got for you on this week's episode. If you are interested in joining the Solo Collective, doors are now closed as of a couple of days ago. They will open again in a few more weeks, and you can check it out at mattsaunders.uk/membership. All the details are on there. We meet every week. There's an aspect of this about business growth, but there's also an aspect of this that is about mindset. I show up on these calls every week, and I'm there for people when they need a pick me up, when they need kick up the butt, when they need someone to just hold space for them and say, listen, I understand where you're coming from. I understand the suffering and the pain that you're in. When we're doing, like, running a business is hard. Running a business entirely on your own is even harder. So don't do it on your own. This is why the Solo Collective exists. It's called the Solo Collective because we don't want to be working on our own. We want to be around other people. So that's mattsaunders.uk/membership. Check it out. If it's not available to you at the moment, make sure you get on the waiting list. You will be alerted the moment that doors open. And yeah, any questions or thoughts on this particular episode, drop me a message. You can reach me at hi@mattsaunders.uk. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Matt Saunders. I'd love to hear from you. I put all these thoughts out into the world. I hear back from people every now and again, which is fantastic. I know people give these things a listen and a watch. I want to know how it's resonating. I want to know how it's landing. I want to know how it's impacting you. Okay. So if you feel compelled to reach out to me for any reason, do so. Don't hold back. Okay. Well, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.